Hi there and good day viewers. For today's video, we'll be having a review of one of the most popular books of Jennifer Niven, her novel that's entitled All the Bright Places. In this brief presentation, we're going to discuss the genre of this book, its themes, the author's style in writing the story, other issues related to the book, and also I'll give you my personal comments or feedbacks regarding this book. Now let's proceed to the genre of this book. The genre of this book is young adult fiction. When we say young adult fiction, it is generally described as books written for readers from 12 to 18 years of age. It represents a certain demographics level of reading, worldview, and maturity, and exists in many genres such as fantasy, mystery, and science fiction. Most young adult stories focus on adolescents who are beginning their transition into adulthood. They discover hidden aspects of themselves, work through personal problems, and learn to take responsibility for their actions. As such, young adult stories are also called coming of age. Moving on to the themes presented in the story, both trauma and grief play a central role in All the Bright Places. When readers meet Violet, she's still struggling to cope with her sister Eleanor's death in a car accident 9 months earlier. Feeling that it seems like her life no longer has meaning or purpose, Violet is contemplating suicide. Finch, meanwhile, idealizes death and suicide due to his struggle with an undiagnosed mental illness. As Violet and Finch get to know each other, both of them learn that having purpose and connecting with each other can be healing. Over the course of their relationship, Violet finally begins to move on from Eleanor's death, and Finch finds that he feels more alive than ever before. And though Finch eventually commits suicide, Violet emerges at the end of the novel understanding that, as a survivor, it's essential that she deal with her grief in a healthy way. Through Violet's journey in particular, the novel suggests that it's impossible to heal from trauma and focus on living without finding purpose and connection. It's extremely difficult. The novel shows for a person to find purpose when they're mired in grief or mental illness. Both Finch and Violet struggle to find meaning and purpose at the beginning of the novel. Since Eleanor's death, Violet has decided that life is meaningless and is just filler before a person dies, which is part of why she contemplates suicide at the top of the school bell tower. She also gives up on writing after Eleanor's dies, something that previously enjoyed and that made her feel powerful and intelligent. Grief, in this sense, keeps Violet from seeing that there's any point to living at all, since she can't write and is just going to die someday anyway. Finch's inability to find purpose is more complex. He is highly intelligent, he scored very high SAT scores and even secured early admission to New York University, but because of this undiagnosed mental illness, it's almost impossible for Finch to think about the future. Part of this has to do with the fact that the nature of Finch's mental illness means that he cycles through periods of being awake, or what we say manic, and asleep, or what we say depressed. Much of Finch's time awake is spent trying to stay awake, and when he's asleep, all he can do is wait to wake up again. His purpose then is essentially just surviving his ups and downs, thinking about anything more long-term than that is impossible. Now let's move on to the style of Jennifer Niven's in writing this story. So, author Jennifer Niven uses a rather interesting writing style which makes all 388 pages a very cool, beautiful read. She splits the book into chapters by switching between the different perspectives of Finch and Violet. It doesn't go back in time. just changes the narrator and continues on with the story from a different person's perspective. Even with the clear split, she managed to write through the story in a very smooth manner, making it an easy and thrilling novel. The author also wrote this book with a clear purpose, though she might not have stated it right in plain sight. Even younger readers could gather. Jennifer Niven is trying to spread a message of hope and encouragement for students facing mental illness head on. Now let's talk about the other issues related to the piece or to the book entitled All the Bright Places. Those haunting words make up the first sentence in Jennifer Niven's New York Times bestselling novel All the Bright Places, her first offering in the realm of young adult fiction. The book was released in 2015 and it was recently adapted into a Netflix feature film set to premiere on February 28. The process of writing her novel was cathartic for Niven, who based the story on her own personal experience with a boy she once loved. I had known a boy and lost a boy that I loved very much years ago, Niven tells The Hollywood Reporter. It was such a profound, heartbreaking experience. I knew I would want to write about it someday, but I didn't know when that would happen. Now, lastly, I'm gonna give you my personal feedback or comment about this book. All the Bright Places for me was truly inspiring, and with its dejected meaning, I would say that it could truly save someone's life. Throughout the story, Niven gives her readers a sense of sorrow for the characters, but as you continue on, you get a real idea of what she was trying to develop. With the age of her main characters as well as the currency of their personal problems, she is able to relate to many people. By taking high school aged characters and turning the two opposites into new personalities just by the introduction to each other, Jennifer makes you fall in love with their relationship. Though the book can make a person feel emotions that they don't normally feel, there was still a few suggestions I would make in order to better the text. Since it was a bit similar to The Fault in Our Stars by John Green, I feel that I could have had a more of a twist to it. The ending was also a stunner, but almost in a good way. Though we didn't want Finch to die, it was still a better ending than uneasy, and they lived happily ever after ending. Overall, I think anyone who comes across the book should read it. So that's all for today's video. Again, it is my own review of All the Bright Places, written by Jennifer Niven. Thank you for watching. Hope you have learned something. Bye!